Thanks for joining me again as we look back at another great classic film. This multi-award winning film featured two of the biggest stars of the day in what was their second and last teaming. It revived the jazz age music of a mostly forgotten composer, pushing his songs into the popular music charts more than 70 years after they were first written. And it's unusual for it making swindlers and confidence men the heroes of the story. It is The Sting from 1973. The script was inspired by research David S. Ward was doing into pickpockets while working on Steelyard Blues. Ward wrote the story because he'd never seen a film about a confidence man. His main source material was The Big Con by David W. Moore, about real-life conmen Fred and Charlie Gondorff. Characters Henry Gondorff, J.J. Singleton, Kid Twist and Eddie Niles were all given names similar to genuine con artists mentioned in the book. Ward listened to a lot of blues music from the 1930s and 40s while writing the script, fine-tuning it to keep the audience guessing and making the leads and the underground brotherhood of thieves sympathetic. The film's title, The Sting, references the moment a con man separates a mark from his money. It was submitted as a spec script and sat on a slush pile until discovered by future director Rob Cohen while working as a reader for script agent Mike Medavoy before it was on-sold to Universal. Ward was originally slated to direct, however Robert Redford insisted on someone more experienced before he would commit to the film. George Roy Hill expressed interest after seeing the screenplay and tried to sign a reluctant Paul Newman. Henry Gondorff was originally a minor character, an overweight, past his prime slob who played gruff mentor to Johnny Hooker. Peter Boyle and Lee Van Cleef were both considered for the role, but when the character was slimmed down and the role beefed up, Newman fell in love with the part and took it on. Ward had written the role of Hooker with Robert Redford in mind, but he initially turned it down. Robert Wagner and Warren Beatty also turned down the role, as did Jack Nicholson, who was more interested in appearing in Chinatown and The Last Detail. Finally, Redford changed his mind and took the part. The studio had concerns about reteaming Newman and Redford because their partnership in the film hinged on the possibility that one or both would try to double-cross the other. Universal was concerned that audiences wouldn't accept such a betrayal. The pairing, however, fitted with Hill's desire to lighten the tone of Ward's original dark tale of conmen on the take, turning into a playful homage to old Hollywood gangster films of the 1930s. Ed Asner, Richard Boone, Oliver Reed, Stephen Boyd, Sterling Hayden, Hugh Griffith and Laurence Olivier were all considered for the role of Doyle Lonnegan. It was Paul Newman who sent the script to Robert Shaw, who after reading it said, "Delicious. When do I start?" Hill wanted an unknown to play Redford's love interest Loretta to avoid any preconceived ideas. He fought for the casting of Demetra Arliss, despite Universal executives thinking she wasn't pretty enough. The initial plan was to film primarily on location, but due to the difficulties in getting the look of the period right, only a few days of shooting were done at Chicago's Union and LaSalle Street stations, and in Los Angeles at the Green Hotel, the Santa Monica Carousel, and the Biltmore Hotel, with most exteriors filmed on Universal's backlot. Location shooting was made more challenging by the big crowds that gathered to see Newman and Redford, creating an atmosphere reminiscent of the Beatles' arrival in 1964. During filming, Robert Redford was recovering from a broken thumb sustained in a skiing accident. He adapted by using his right hand oddly, most obvious when he holds a fork with 4 fingers, and uses the middle finger to lift his coffee cup. At the same time, Shaw was carrying a leg injury, which he incorporated into his character's limp. The look of the film was important, and Hill used stylistic techniques including a 1930s era Universal logo, editing wipes and iris shots for transitions, and limiting the number of extras used in scenes. With art director Henry Bumstead and cinematographer Robert Surtees, they developed a colour scheme of muted browns and maroons and a 1930s style lighting design. Edith Head designed period costumes, which ignited a trend where gangster suits briefly became all the rage. And artist Jaroslav Giba created intertitle cards with the look of old Saturday Evening Post illustrations. Hill approached a reluctant Marvin Hamlish to adapt to Scott Joplin's music for the score. After watching a first cut in the screening room, Hamlish was struck by how good the film was and how many sequences were free from dialogue, making them perfect places to insert music. Hill felt that the lightness of Joplin's music perfectly captured the film's playful tone, and its inclusion was instrumental in Joplin being awarded a Special Arts Pulitzer Prize in 1976, his song The Entertainer reaching number 3 on the Billboard charts, and a catalyst for Universal to make the 1977 film Scott Joplin. Almost all the racehorses mentioned in Gondorff's betting con were actually thoroughbreds that raced in the 1930s, with jockey Jay Stout actually riding Flying Cross at the time. The film was a box office smash, taking $257 million worldwide. At the time, it was the 4th highest grossing film in history and is now the 19th highest when adjusted for inflation. It was a huge hit in Ireland, playing for over a year at Dublin's Adelphi Cinema, with UK cinemagoers flying to Dublin to catch it after it had finished showing in other parts of Britain. Roger Ebert called it one of the most stylish movies of the year. Vincent Canby of the New York Times said the film was so good-natured, so obviously aware of everything it's up to, that one forgives its unrelenting efforts to charm, if only because the sting itself is a kind of con game, devoid of the poetic aspirations that weighed down Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Variety wrote, Hill's outstanding direction of Ward's finely crafted story of multiple deceptions will delight both mass and class audiences. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times called it an unalloyed delight, the kind of pure entertainment film that's all the more welcome for having become such a rarity. Pauline Kael of the New Yorker was less enthusiastic, writing that the film is meant to be roguishly charming entertainment, but I found it visually claustrophobic and totally mechanical. It was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, winning for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Editing, Best Score and Best Picture, the first such win for Universal since All Quiet on the Western Front in 1930. It won Best Film at the National Board of Review Awards, an American Cinema Editors Award, a People's Choice Award and a Golden Screen Award. George Orr-Hill won a Directors Guild of America Award and a Kinema Junpo Award, and Robert Redford won Best Foreign Actor at the David D. Donatello Awards. The film was selected for preservation in the US National Film Registry. The Writers Guild of America listed as the 39th greatest screenplay ever written. It is amongst the AFI's top 400 greatest American movies and top 500 funniest American movies, and is one of the 1001 movies you must see before you die. The Sting 2, penned by David Ward, was released in 1983 starring Jackie Gleason, Mac Davis, Terry Garr, Carl Malden and Oliver Reed, but bombed badly. Lots of good reasons to watch this film. Redford and Newman are brilliant together. It's highly immersive, taking you back to the struggles of the 1930s. The storyline is equal parts fun and intriguing as it keeps you guessing and leads to a conclusion that, as Robert Shaw describes, delicious. So, what I'd suggest you do is that you go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, find the link to this particular film, click on it and watch it, and as always, we invite you to come back, let us know your thoughts about the film and whether you recommend it for others as well. And then we're back in the not too distant future for our next classic films review. Catch you next time.